Okay, this is pretty much what we've come up with. Little plate of steel right here with a couple of holes in it, and then I'll just run a tack weld, or maybe a 1-inch bead and a couple of tacks on the side here, and that'll get that in solid. And then we'll put this little piece back here and tack or run a bead across the back side of that, which is going to be good. Now the problem is I think what I need to do is clamp it, this back one, and so that's going to be pretty tight. But if I just take a piece of paper and fold it, I'll have probably 8 thousandths or something like that of spare room to give me to be able to slip each one of them out and put them back in. So let's take it over to the welder and start that process. Okay, we got everything clamped both directions, and all we need to do now is just run a few beads and get that thing locked in, and I think we can just kind of pretty much go from there. Okay, so we're going to begin by we're just going to run about a 1-inch bead down here, and then maybe come up that side there, and that'll be plenty. I guess we need a ground, don't we? That should hold it. Pretty good. Let's flip it over and see what we can do on the other side. Why don't we get you around so you can see? All right, that's a pretty good position. We're just going to run a fast bead right down the center of that. That should be more than enough. And let's take this off. Let's remove this. And let's take it over and unbolt it and see how it came out. All right, so we're back over here on the mill bench. Undo these screws. They're probably a little warm. It's tight. Alright, that's good. Now let's see how this next one's going to fit. And it looks like it'll slide right in there, nice and snug. And we'll put this one up for now. And we've got a fixture to give us the ability to cut cut this thing in half without busting up my saw blade, which they aren't cheap for that big saw, but you know, and they last a long time as long as you don't do anything idiotic like tweak the blade or something like that. All right, it looks like I didn't go far enough in with this tap, so we're gonna run that in a little bit further. And we could probably just go in behind that. And I'm running this down with a bottom tap so that I can get those threads all the way to the bottom. There we go. Well, it's still tight. Oh, it tightened up. All right, we're good and snug in there. So let's take it over to the saw and see how it's going to work. Oh, wait, first we got to get an exact center here. And 2 and 4/30. So 1 and 2/15. And that should give us center. Close enough. All right, let's take it over to the saw, see what we can do. Well, you can see that my backstop works, but the vise part of the saw doesn't work because it hit this plate. So I went in, and you know, this whole thing's going to stay stationary throughout all 8 cuts. So I went in and put 2 big C-clamps on the back side of this piece here, and everything looks like it's ready to kind of rock and roll. Let me check one more thing. We're just up a little bit on this end. Let me just tap it down. There we go. And then I went in to make sure that I'm pretty close to my line. Well, first I squared the backstop up with the blade. That goes to be said. And then I drop my scale in and, you know, just kind of line it up with the back side of the blade. And it looks like we're going to hit right there. Now there's, you know, I'm going to machine back a fair amount off of that, probably almost 1/4 inch. So we got a little bit of leeway. Let's give this a try and see if it's going to work. And since I don't have a water-cooled saw, okay, there we go. After a crash. Let's loosen this up and see what we came up with. Nope, everything's tight because it's warm. And we may have to let it cool off. We're going to get that one out. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Looks like pretty much what we wanted to do. We'll take a break now and let everything cool down, and we'll go from there. Well, good morning. Nick Collier here, and we're moving forward with this project. We've cut our pieces in half, and we've got our threaded cable grippers exposed. Now what we have to do is come back in and surface this inside edge, because when we turn it over and cut that angle, I want to make sure that everybody is pretty consistent so that it'll fit in the tapered receiver, so everybody will fit. So I've set it up on the mill, and let's swing you around here and you can kind of see what we're doing. Let's see, where is the mill? There it is. And we've got it set up. Let's swing it just a little bit over here so you can kind of see what's happening. All right. And we've got a brand new mill bit in here, an in mill, so that when we cut the surface, it cuts a real good clean cut, because that's going to be our finished edge. And so then I came in and I trammed the head both ways, and now we're ready to start cutting. So a little bit of oil. Oh, yeah, we're actually going to have to move you back a little bit. Are you still there? Yeah, you can still see it. Let's see what we're doing here. One cut. I've done about, I don't know, 6 of these so far. None of them have been one cut, so that's it's a relief. So there we go, we got that. And notice how somehow this hole got off a little bit on this particular one. But the cool part is there's a mating surface to it, so it's not a problem. And there you go. There's the mating surface. A little wider here than it is there. All right, slide this back in. Little whack with the hammer just to make sure we're down. Yep. Tighten it up. Let's see where it's going to land. Now that one's going to have to come down a little bit. Maybe about 20 thousandths. Okay, Nick Collier here again. It's the next morning, a little bit rainy out. Nice, great day. I love rainy days. We are down to the last couple of pieces here that we're facing off that top edge. And then we're going to turn this baby over, and we're going to set up so that we can cut a taper. Now let's see, do we have the other one? Yeah, here it is. So we're going to cut a taper off of that. So we're going to do these last couple of pieces, and then we'll come back and maybe show you the setup for the taper. Yeah, I think it's going to be an easy setup, but I of course always say that, and it doesn't always work out that way. All right. Okay, so we're cutting the last 2 cuts of the 18 pieces that we did. A little bit of oil on that surface, and I'm spinning pretty fast with a really sharp blade so I get that nice finish. Because this is going to be my finish. And I'm taking 10,000ths at a time. Just so I don't hog out too much and burn up the bit. Okay, one last cut. And a little bit more oil. Ourselves a finish. It's a done deal, and we get a nice, almost a mirror finish on that surface, which will be our final surface. Now we're going to take this, flip it over, and put it in the vise in some way. I'm not sure quite how we're going to approach it just yet, and then take off that taper, and we'll come back after we clean up this mess. Because each one of these is individual, probably because I didn't have a way to start and cut the threads. Each thread kind of went off one direction or another, just slightly. I don't know if you can see. Well, actually, that one's pretty good. But there's 1 or 2 in here that, yeah, that one there. See, it's pretty deep on that side, and it's pretty shallow on that side. It's not going to hurt anything because the gripper has an adjustment it can make to the cable, but that means that each one of these is individual and a match set to its opposite. So I think what I'm going to have to do here is go ahead and mark these, and I'll just go A, B, C, D, and we'll have it set. Okay, so we've got our piece. We're pretty well set as far as most everything. I think what I want to do is I want to maintain the entire thickness of this. Mostly because, notice where my hole is, it's a little bit higher. My arch is a little bit higher. Everything's just a little bit different. And so we're going to go ahead and mark ourselves on this, or maybe what we could do is just take this up a little higher and get ourselves a mark. Let's see what we can do about that. We can just use one of these parallels, slide it under that, and see if that's going to get us up high enough. Looks like just about right. Except the parallel's not wide enough, so I'm going to go get another parallel that's a little bit wider. And I would say that's our answer right there. That looks pretty good. Now, just basically grab it. I'm wondering, okay, just grab it and give it a strike. And there's our line. All right, so that's pretty much where we want to be. No, this would be the most logical approach. I've got it gripped, it's good and solid, everything's all set to go, and I think what I can do is just literally come in with my old piece here, or the example piece, put it in there. Oops, let's go the other way. Use that as my stop, or as my angle. Bring this up. Of course, let's see if we can get it to sit like that. No, it's not going to sit like that. But it's not going to sit like that either. At least not as well as I hoped. Let's try it this way. Well, that pretty much answers the problem. That gets us to the right angle in the flat in the vise. But the problem is that this isn't wide enough, and it tends to want to walk one way or the other on that piece there. So I think what we're going to have to do is make one of these a little bit wider and use that as our stop. And at the same time, while I'm making it, I can make a little ledge right here, so that when this piece drops down, it has something to bottom out to, and then I can clamp it in the vise and we're all set to go. So I think that's what we're going to do next, is make ourselves a little mini jig. Basically, this is just something to sit our pieces on, so why not use aluminum? And I've kind of marked it out. I just kind of laid it out using this. We're going to cut down to here, leave ourselves a little notch, and then cut the rest of this off and square up all of our edges, and then we'll basically have what we need as far as our jig is concerned. So we're going to take this over to the saw and cut it, and you've seen me saw before, so we'll wait for the more exciting moments and bring you back. All right, we've cut our piece, rough of course, but we're going to get the basic angle here, and I think what I'm going to do is just, this looks pretty square, so I'm going to just drop this in there on top of that, and I'll get my perfect angle. Lock it in. And let's bring the, well, we can bring the head down. Well, we need to bring it up just a little bit. All right. And basically we're just going to go in and square up that edge. All right, that looks pretty good. Now, one thing I want to do is come back in, and we're going to square up this back side. It already looks like it's pretty square, but I just want to make sure. And then we're going to put a bolt in the end of that and put a plate that'll kind of stick out a little bit far, and that way we've got some place to butt up against on the vise. So let's put that in the vise and see what we can come up with here. So now we've got a seat for each of our pieces to sit on. It's going to sit just like that, bang down up against it, and we'll have, whoops, and we probably want to go in the other way, and we'll have our perfect angle to cut. All right, so I'm going to drill a hole in this and put a little bolt in it with a little plate to go out around it. We don't really need to get too complicated here. We're going to throw this thing away after we do our 18 pieces. And I'm wondering if I can't just take it over to the drill press and drill a hole in it. Let's just do that. We'll be back. Okay, so we're just winging it here, doing something fast and dirty, because this pretty much is going to get thrown away once I'm done doing that. So we just got a piece of scrap angle iron, and and put it in the back there. Now that bottoms us out on the vise. So now we just basically going to drop that in place, square it up a little bit, and pull it as far as we can over. And I think we pretty much have what we want. Nice and tight. So we got a lot of material to take off of each one of these. So I think what we're going to do is trade out our fancy finish bit and get a rough out bit and rough it down to the basic size. Then come back in with the finish bit and clean up everything and make it look good. And I think we're ready to go. We'll be back.